Am I the asshole for telling my half-sister she never deserved my mom and she can't change my mind? My dad had a child before he and my mom met. My half-sister, 33 female. Her mom walked out when she was young, not sure on the age, and left her for dad to raise. They weren't together. He met my mom not long after and my mom was slowly introduced to her and they got married when my half-sister was about 9 or 10 and I, 22 female, was born a year later. I don't remember much of my half-sister living with us. I just know she treated my mom like shit, would yell at mom for everything and anything, got mad at her for doing her laundry, got mad at her for not doing her laundry, got mad at her for looking at her, got mad at her for making her lunch, then for not making it, or making the wrong lunch. She'd get mad at mom if the school called my mom over something, like she was sick. She got mad if mom had to take her to the doctor instead of dad. She got mad at mom whenever someone implied mom was her mom even if mom wasn't there. I remember my half-sister telling mom she hated her. My mom always loved my half-sister. She always thought of her as her first kid and she felt a duty to her despite everything. She was as loving to my half-sister as she was to me and she never ever allowed anyone to say my half-sister wasn't family. Some of my mom's family really disliked my half-sister as an adult and it caused some fights. Mom would defend my half-sister even when said half-sister wished my mom dead. Part of me didn't love it because I really felt like mom was wasting her time on someone who didn't deserve it. Especially when my half-sister had many years of therapy, and my mom was always there and supporting her and would speak up for my half-sister when required. Yet mom allowed some adult woman to treat her like shit. My mom died a few months ago and she left my half-sister a locket that's a family heirloom for us and has passed down 3, now 4, generations. It was always meant to go to the oldest daughter's oldest daughter and mom left it to my half-sister. It broke my heart because my half-sister always denied mom was anything to her. Apparently she regrets it now, especially after the locket, and she was trying to start a relationship with me after we had no relationship my whole life. I have no wish for that to happen. I told her that. She started her own personal pity party and was talking about the regrets she now has to live with and how the locket now meant so much to her. I told her she never deserved my mom, or the locket, and she won't ever change my mind. I told her I hope she feels that guilt every time she sees it. I told her I hope that locket haunts her because it's tainted being hers now. She started crying and when my dad heard what happened he got so mad at me and told me I was wrong to say those things and my half-sister deserves compassion. I told her I'm tired of her getting compassion and I'm not going to show her any because she has regrets after all these years of being shitty. Am I the asshole? And where's your dad in all those fiasco? During your mom still alive I mean. Did your dad allow her daughter to treat his spouse like that? Yeah, not the asshole. I think that it is great that she is feeling guilt over how shitty she treated your mom. Feeling guilty and then trying to bulldoze a relationship when nothing can be done for the person that they wronged is just a way to try and ease their own mind rather than actually improving. I also think your dad is trying to ease his guilt over allowing his wife to be treated like that for nearly 2 decades. Not the asshole. Tell your dad your half-sister deserves just as much compassion as she ever showed your mom. Not the asshole. I am so sorry for your loss. Your father's oldest daughter still horrible. Your father still making excuses and enabling her. NGL. I'd tell both of them the only way to make this right for you is return of the locket to you. Once you have it, cut all contact with both of them. I cannot even imagine the pain your mother endured due to this situation for years. Neither of them deserved your mother. Not the asshole. Tell her you will forgive her if she hands over the locket. If she does, take it, then have nothing else to do with her. I'm not usually petty like this, but, you know, karma and all that. I'm sorry for the loss of your mom. She sounds like a beautiful human. Based on what you wrote, your half-sister didn't deserve her or that locket. Not the asshole I think. While harsh I think your emotions and actions are valid considering the context. You went through life with her treating you horribly and her wishing your mom dead and treating her like shit even after half-sister became an adult. Now you've done the same to her one time while grieving for your mom and your dad wants you to show compassion? Nah. Hope you'll figure out how to have a good relationship with your dad and no relationship with her. Am I the asshole for not offering an open bar at my wedding? My fiancé and my wedding invites have started arriving,
along with the invites, is a few things we felt we should outline before the guests arrive to the reception.
We have decided to not include an open bar. I come from an alcoholic-heavy family and simply don't feel comfortable being around people who are drinking heavily.
Instead, my fiancé and I have decided to have a drink ticket-like service instead. With that service, we've been able to customize how we want alcoholic beverages being handled at our reception, and the venue says this kind of service happens all the time there. It was their suggestion, in fact, so I didn't think it would be this big of a deal.
With the invitations was a card with the expectations one is to expect from the ceremony and the reception. I didn't want to shock people when they arrived, so I figured the cards would be a nice, classy heads-up for our guests. The drink service bit of the card said, essentially, that alcoholic drinks were limited to 2 per of age guest. The tickets are non-transferable, and like the other beverages offered would need to be ordered from your seat at your assigned table. Drinks were also to be enjoyed at your assigned table. I've been called a lot of rude things after family, both sides, and friends are receiving their cards.
My fiancé has as well, but a little less so. The most common being, Bridezilla. But I did have an uncle reach out to me and say I'm in a hole for trying to spoil the fun of a wedding reception. The response has been mostly negative and has been from all sides of family and friends, and now my head is swirling as I try to figure out what to do. So, am I the asshole because I've set my reception up like this and am not offering an open bar instead?
You are the asshole. Drinks were also to be enjoyed at your assigned table. Your ticket plan went from moderately novel to aggressively controlling the more you explained it. Are you going to have security tackle Aunt Joan if she gets out of her chair with a glass of chard in her hand? Your title is misleading.
It's totally okay to not have an open bar at a wedding.
Even limiting consumption is kinda okay. But forcing people to drink it sitting at their assigned table?
That's over-controlling. Just seems like you want your guests to jump through hoops for you for no good reasons than because you can, because you are the bride.
You are the asshole.
Yeah, this is taking it overboard.
You cannot have alcohol at your wedding if you want. People will leave early, so be prepared.
But thinking you get to decide where they can have their drinks? Bizarre and controlling. You can't reasonably limit people to their table like this.
I'm gonna go with you or the asshole, cause this shit is ridiculous.
Your wedding sounds like an unenjoyable event to attend with so many restrictions for your guests, being treated like school children.
Drinks were also to be enjoyed at your assigned table.
This isn't classy, this is weird and condescending.
Like you're worried a 4-year-old will spill his juice.
You are the asshole for that, even though in general a drink ticket plan seems reasonable.
You are the asshole. The issue isn't the no open bar. It's not even the ticket concept. My son and his wife chose to have a dry wedding and it was no big deal.
The issue is you playing police about how and where they drink, additionally stating that the tickets are non-transferable. That's ridiculous. If 90-year-old Aunt Betty doesn't want to have any alcohol and is happy to give her tickets to Uncle Joe, then why not?
I get that you don't want sloppy drunk people or fights or bad behavior, but going as far as playing dictator to guests who are 1, bringing generally expensive gifts for you 2, supposedly family and friends, and 3, all adults, is going way too far.
It's one thing to not have an open bar, and I can get behind the drink tickets, but you start to become ridiculous. You can only order and drink at your assigned table.
Like, I'm sorry, but it sounds like the wedding is taking place in a school cafeteria. You are the asshole. Am I the asshole for not putting my MIL's maiden name in my child's name? My fiancé, 24 male, and I, 24 female, are expecting our first child in December of this year. We don't know the gender yet, so we were picking names for both a boy and a girl. We've fallen in love with names already. My fiancé has his father's last name, and that name is on his birth certificate, while his mother has a completely different last name. She has been hell-bent on getting us to make the last name of our child her maiden name, which neither of us have. So in my head it just doesn't make sense. She has been very manipulative in the past with various things to the point where we have given in to just get her to leave us alone about things. This time around she proceeded to guilt trip us on why we won't give the child her last name. She proceeded to throw the "I raised you, he didn't" card and even said she was going to go to the court to change my fiancé's last name, which I found hilarious seeing he's a grown adult. Now mind you, mother-in-law has 4 sons. 2 of which have her maiden name as her last name, and all 4 children are straight and have potential to bear children of their own in the future. I am trying to convince my fiancé not to give in to even hyphenating her last name and keeping it just his current last name to help set early boundaries on raising this child. But mother-in-law has it so deep in his mind that he has to please her and that she's entitled to make these decisions because she raised him. Not to mention she had demanded to be at my gender ultrasound instead of waiting for the reveal we have planned at our baby shower. So I'm just curious if AITA, because I want our child to have his or her father's last name and not their grandmother's. Update. My fiancé and I have talked and we have agreed to give the baby his last name, as I will be marrying him and taking the last name anyway. Boundaries will be heavily set with mother-in-law and appointments will be kept private between the 2 of us. I thank all of you who have validated my feelings and who have given advice, as this all has helped make us realize and make him realize that this is a creepy power control thing on her end. We only want the best for baby and we need to lay the law now or it will never happen. Not the asshole. Here are some prompts for you to say. 1. Only choices are your last name or mine. If you don't make the choice, I will choose. It will never be Mill's last name. 2. Your mom is stressing me out. She is banned from all doctors' APPTS and from the delivery room. You will be blocked too if you don't make it clear to her. 3. If you don't start to set better boundaries with your mom, I think we need to reevaluate our relationship and what it looks like going forward. Therapy may be helpful. But you can't change someone, they have to want to change. Good luck, op. Not the asshole. Why would you give your child a different last name than you have? His mother had the choice with your partner and she gave him his father's last name. It's not your job to fix that decision which she regrets. And by the way, I wouldn't give in for no other reason than if you bend on this, you'll be setting a precedent and will never be able to make any decisions for your own child going forward without a war. Setting a boundary now will be a lot less painful, but you and your partner need to get on the same page. Not the asshole, you need to put your foot down and set some firm boundaries that you and your fiancé agree to together. Then he has to enforce them because she's his mother, not yours. Otherwise, this is only the beginning of your mother-in-law meddling in your lives. Ultimately, this is a relationship problem between you and your fiancé that you have to work through, perhaps through premarital counseling, not between you and your mill. Start setting boundaries now or it will be worse when baby is here. Make it clear that this is yours and your husband's child, not hers, so only the 2 of you have a say in the naming. Trust me, you want to have the same last name as your child, do not give in to her. I grew up with a different variation of my parents' last name and I hated it. In school my teachers always assumed that my parents were divorced or that they were just my guardians. Some mother-in-law are just so entitled and meddling. My own mother-in-law went as far as to ask that my daughter be named after her. My husband and I would just make jokes every time she brought it up. We should have just given her a hard no because she was shocked when we announced her name, but her shock is her problem, not mine. You may have unwittingly taught her that her tactics work. It will be harder to undo. Be very clear, be on the same page and use timeouts and do not ever give in again. Best wishes for your new shiny spines. Not the asshole, I feel like I'd tell her, directly to her face, this is a weird request. Like, strangely, incredibly weird. One that we will not be giving into. Don't ask about this again. Also, your fiancé needs to grow a backbone and stand up to his mother and tell her that she doesn't get to make the decision on this, and that your kid will have your last name, not some random last name that the child will have no connection to, where everyone will constantly ask why the kid's last name is different from the parents'. Am I the asshole for being rude to my in-laws after they hung an American flag on our house? Me, 40F, and my husband, 39M, just moved into a new home with our 2 young kids. My in-laws and I have always struggled with boundaries, especially my mother-in-law. I admit I am a bit particular about home decor and clothing, etc. I have a pretty strong sense of style. My husband does really go with the flow and doesn't really have much of a sense of style, so defers to me. I probably should have seen it as a red flag that his mom bought his clothes and did his laundry until we moved in together. To be clear, I don't do either now, as he is a grown person and I think he can handle those tasks himself. I mean, I'll throw his laundry in with mine, but I don't go out of my way to do those tasks for him. We both work full-time. Anyhow, I digress.
So my mother-in-law constantly brings things to our house to decorate.
She has never had a job and spends most of her time at the mall buying gifts for other people.
I appreciate that she is trying to do a nice thing by giving gifts.
But she is constantly bringing things over that we don't want or need. Every time she comes over, she brings gifts. Multiple times a week. I've asked her and my husband has asked her more than 10 times to stop bringing things.
They typically don't fit my taste and I hate that I end up with a lot of stuff I don't know what to do with aside from donate. Anyhow, at our last home they brought us an American flag to put up on our front porch.
I'm politically very left-leaning and feel the flag has become more of a symbol for the right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
But I've heard others express the sentiment too.
At our last house we said thank you and the flag went into storage. They asked why we didn't put it up a few times and we just kinda said this or that and it never came up again.
So back to our new house. They brought one over last night and it was up on my front porch before I even knew what was happening. I was upset. I've been working non-stop to make our new home a lovely place to live functionally and aesthetically. And this was just my breaking point. I want to make decisions about what goes on the facade of my home. My husband seemed to think I was overreacting and my mother-in-law said you can't be this upset about a flag. I said it wasn't just about the flag. It's about boundaries. She said, and I quote, because you have to control everything, as she looked up from reading my 4-year-old a book. I'm beyond pissed. More background. My husband is an on and off again recovering alcoholic. More recently not so recovered. He has been going through detox for the last week while I care for the home and the children. I'm on edge. So I got pretty snappy and was pretty short and rude. I spent some time in the garage trying to self-regulate but couldn't adequately get myself to stop being a bit of an asshole. So much so that they decided to leave before dinner. Not my finest moment. I feel guilty that I was being snappy toward them, but I also feel like my emotions were trampled all over. Am I crazy? ETA. Wow, thank you for all the feedback. I didn't expect to get so many responses. First off, I'm deeply sorry for not using paragraphs in the original post. This was my first time posting and I did not know it was going to be so upsetting to so many of you. I get what so many of you are saying about taking the flag back and it not being a symbol of the right. I definitely hear you and I've changed my mind about what flying a flag means. So thank you for that. I'm grateful for all the good advice for dealing with my mother-in-law and husband. Obviously my mother-in-law, and the flag, is not my biggest problem at the moment, but I have been made to feel crazy so much over the past year that I'm questioning everything. Not the asshole, and this feels like a power play by Mill. Any normal decoration you can reject since it's your house. But a flag lets in the patriotic guilt. What, don't you love our country? Yeah, no. You have it absolutely right that this is about control and boundaries. The "you have to control everything" line is a masterpiece in projection and cognitive dissonance. Not the asshole. When mother-in-law looked up and said because you have to control everything, I would have kicked her out of my house and told her she can come back when she learns boundaries and can apologize. Not the asshole. Go to her house and hang a rainbow flag and Antifa flag on the front. Then shocked face, but you can't be upset about a flag. I see lots of great comments regarding the Mill. I just want to gently point out that there is no such thing as on and off recovery. Please don't minimize it because, while it's hard, his addiction and stop-starting is putting gigantic amount of pressure on you. I really hope it works out for you all. Not the asshole. My in-laws and I have always struggled with boundaries, especially my mother-in-law. Already not the asshole. Said it wasn't just about the flag. It's about boundaries. She said, and I quote, because you have to control everything. She's the one trying to control what happens at your home. I want to make decisions about what goes on the facade of my home. The flag symbolizes your mother-in-law's belief that you don't have the freedom to do this. It's her choice. The world is not Reddit. The flag does not belong to any side, it belongs to everyone and represents everyone. Lots of progressive and left-leaning people have died, so you have the rights to choose not to display the flag. I think you have the right to put whatever you want in your house. You should not have to add a flag if you don't want to. I also think you are wrong in associating the flag with the right,
The flag represents the country as a whole, and by saying the flag belongs to the right you are saying only the right are Americans.